too. Mattie Duppler is a senior fellow at the National Taxpayers Union and joins us tonight. Mattie, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
So this is probably without precedent, I think, in presidential politics, where Alyssa Milano single-handedly, apparently, changes the frontrunner's view on a longstanding 40-year position.
Yeah, and I think, Tucker, you and I probably share frustration when Republicans don't learn from mistakes of the past, but Democrats seem to have quite a proclivity for this as well. I mean, look at what happened under Obama and Biden. By taking hints from the left, by being intrigued by the Hollywood left and saying that the coastal elites were the ones who should set policy for us, they decimated Democratic benches. They got rid of basically all Democrats that were in charge across the country over the past 8 years when they were in charge. They put a Republican House in charge, a Republican Senate in charge, and got Donald Trump elected. So if the Democrats want to continue taking cues from the Hollywood elite and from the coastal elite, that's great, but I think that it'll get them more of where we are now, which is Republicans controlling a lot of the different state houses in this country, and of course a lot of power here in D.C.
I think that's right. I mean, people are, I'll admit, I'm pretty ideological. I see the world in those terms, but most people aren't that ideological.
Sure.
And scary, wild-eyed ideologues really terrify them.
Well, yeah, and I think on the abortion issue in particular, when it comes to things like the Hyde Amendment, for one, I find it somewhat interesting, given that I'm a Washington, D.C. policy person, that we have Democrats who are running for president talking about this minute policy issue that's an appropriations rider every year. I mean, that's pretty wonky stuff. But the reason the Hyde Amendment has been uncontroversial for the better part of half a century is because what it does is it prevents funding of taxpayer abortions. What that means is it prevents taxpayers, who are the unwitting beneficiaries of tax policy, from having to pay for something that they object to, that they have a conscientious problem with. They don't have to pay for that. And that has been a Democratic and Republican position for many, many years.
Well, sure. And as far as I can tell, and we looked at the numbers today, the Hyde Amendment still has overwhelming support from voters. I mean, there's not a groundswell of support from normal people, even pro-choice people.
Exactly right. I mean, 55% of this country thinks that they're pro-choice, but only 39% think that people should be able to have their taxpayer dollar used to fund abortion. And those numbers fall even more when you talk about forcing medical professionals to perform an abortion against their own objections. Those are the sorts of things that are at risk here when you start letting taxpayer dollars be used for something that is morally objectionable for broad swaths of this country.
Now, where do you think, and this is pure conjecture because the Biden campaign didn't get back to us today when we asked, but where do you think Joe Biden stands on transgender animal rights?
I don't know, Tucker, but here's the thing. I can't emphasize enough how radical this shift is from Joe Biden himself in particular. Remember Obamacare? Remember how that was a BFD according to Joe Biden himself? The price of getting Obamacare done was the Hyde Amendment. There were pro-life Democrats who objected to the fact that there weren't enough protections in the health care law, and they said to President Obama, we won't vote for it unless we have these protections. What did President Obama do? Rather than putting in the law, he signed an executive order that enshrined the Hyde Amendment applying to Obamacare. So just in the space of the last 10 years, Biden has gone from that being the single most biggest accomplishment of his administration when he was vice president to saying it's not acceptable.
That is absolutely fascinating. Is anyone attacking Obama for doing that?
We'll see.
Wow, interesting. Mattie Duppler, great to see you tonight.
Good to see you, Tucker.
Well, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube have all justified